In this video, we're going to break down the cost of growing 30 acres of corn in 2025. We'll go all the way from planting to fertilizer applications to everything in between. Now we're going to break it down on a per acre basis. So when we plant, how much does that cost per acre? And things that are going to be included in the per acre cost are like wear and tear on equipment, fuel, all the things that go into each application pass we do. Now this is my third year farming, second year growing a corn crop, and on this field last year was soybeans. So soybeans are a legume, they're a bean, and they actually fix nitrogen from the air, put it in the soil. And then this field that we're farming, I own. So I'm not renting it, and I purchased it in 2023. So we still have a loan on it, which includes principal, interest, and we have to pay property taxes. And so at the end of the video, we're gonna calculate our total input cost per acre. We'll look at our land cost per acre, add them together, and figure out how many bushels we need to yield of corn at current market prices to break even, to make money, and when do we start losing money. So with all that context, the first pass we're gonna make out in the field is a pre-emergent herbicide pass along with our first application of nitrogen right before planting. So all we're doing now is switching to the fertilizer nozzles. We're going to be putting a lot more gallons out per acre, so we need a lot more volume, and these nozzles or tips allow that. Now this sprayer pass comes to $80 an acre. $60 of that is strictly the 32% we're putting down. It's 30 gallons to the acre. And then also in the mix is $15 an acre of our pre-emergent chems, and the rest of the cost goes towards maintenance and fuel for the tractor and the sprayer. We're doing all our nutrient applications for this corn crop in season, so this is our first time putting anything down. Grant got done with his first load, and now we're filling them with the rest of our trailer. Grant finished spraying up the field, and we unhooked from the sprayer to hook back up to the mulch finisher, and I'll be running that till dark so this field is ready in the morning to plant. Here's a little update. The sun is going down. We're wrapping up the day here. I'm probably a quarter way through doing our final pass on this field. Now this field pass comes to 15 bucks an acre. That's coming from the diesel cost and also wear and tear on the tractor and implement. That brings our total before planting to $95 an acre, and this pass was just really shallow as we didn't want to bury our pre-emergent too deep, but we still wanted to work in our 32% nitrogen we sprayed before this, because the 2-week forecast looks somewhat dry, and without rain on 32% surface applied, the nitrogen could volatilize and be wasted to the atmosphere if it's not worked in by rain or a tillage tool.
So we're getting going this morning here, and last cornfield, I'm loading the planter. Spencer worked around until midnight last night, so he kind of had a slow start, so I'm getting the planter all going.
Today is May 6th. We're putting the corn in. It's high of like 75, 80, zero wind. Now the biggest cost of planting is by far the seed, with one bag of corn seed costing over $300, and that only covers 2 acres. It can add up pretty quick. So our seed costs broken down per acre comes to $175, and the cost of running the tractor and planter, that includes the diesel and wear and tear on equipment, comes to $25 an acre for planting, and that brings our season total so far to $295 an acre for our inputs. Planter is full. We're going all the way down the field. All the headlands are in. I would say it's planting pretty good. We lifted the row cleaners up a bit. Pretty happy with everything. Can't get a better day than this. There we go. We're done with planting. for 2025. Hopefully we don't have to replant anything. Now here's what the 2-week forecasts look like at planting, and we got lucky overnight with 0.15 inches of rain, and 2 days later, here's what our seed was looking like. It was starting to swell and grow. Now about 8 days after planting, we had full emergence thanks to warm soil temps and good conditions. Here's what the corn was looking like a few weeks after planting, and thankfully the end of May, we caught some pretty good rains. And now here's the next time we are back out in the field exactly 1 month after planting to do another nutrient application in season between the rows. And we got about half an inch of rain 2 nights ago it would be. So we probably could have ran yesterday evening, but we just wanted the field to dry out because you don't really want to be going down the road with that heavy tank and side dress bar and compacting the rows. This corn was planted the first week of May, and just over the past few days here, we've gotten 80-degree temps, a little bit of rain, and it is flying out of the ground. I got a full load there of 30% in ATS mix, and then we're gonna throw some boron and zinc in this. Grant did some tissue sampling on some corn of his other fields that we put the boron and zinc on, and those samples just came back, and those were kind of the 2 micronutrients that were missing the most, so it's good we're putting those on. So we're gonna put a heavier rate of nitrogen on this field just because we're doing everything in season, which is good because we're gonna give it to the plant right around the time that it needs it rather than, I don't know, fall anhydrous or spring. Now here in this little tank is where I'm mixing up the micronutrients I was talking about earlier. And then the really big black tank, that's what's holding all of the 32%. We're putting on just under 100 pounds of N per acre here with our yield target of 240 bushels to the acre. This side dress pass ends up costing $80 to the acre between the products and equipment we're putting on. The side dress bar we're renting from the local co-op. This brings our season total so far to $375 an acre for our inputs. So this is how it works from the cab. Right now I'm free-handing it. You got to straddle the rows here. And this is what we call a point row. You come in at an angle to the end row. So we have to keep planting through this. We don't have row shutoffs. That'd be cool to have. We're shooting for 37 gallons to the acre, and we're getting it. Sometimes I gotta speed up or slow down. Well, we're done with the end rows here. Now I'm going straight through the field. We got a third of the tank left. I'd say a little over halfway done with the field. Now it's the next morning and we got the sprayer hooked up, side dress bar hauled back. Got the trailer full of water here and all of our products. So this is gonna be a post passed on corn. Now this is our last pass through the field during the growing season with a tractor. We did our pre-emergent herbicide pass before planting, which just created a weed barrier and stopped weeds from germinating. This herbicide pass is post-emergence, which is killing weeds through direct contact. This pass comes to $25 an acre, with most of that being the cost of the actual products, which brings our total input costs up to $400 an acre. Now from early June to July, we've been out of the field. Thankfully, Mother Nature has given us a bunch of heat and sunshine, along with a total of 7.3 inches of rain in June alone. Thankfully, most of that has been spread out. We haven't gotten too wet or too much ponding where it can kill off the crops. The corn has grown from shin high to over 8 feet tall in spots in just 30 days. So now this is what the corn is looking like July 10th. We're on the end rows here, so in the field, it's a bit more growth. Now this was planted the first week of May. There's corn that we planted like middle of April. That stuff is tasseling right now. The whole field is tasseling. There's a few plants in here that are just starting to tassel. So far we've had a extremely good weather year, plenty of rain, probably a little too much rain in total, but we've gotten lucky where it's spaced out. Other parts of here have gotten shots of like 4 or 5 inches in one day, and that can drown out some spots. Then you have a bunch of yield loss there. And so we put on most of our nutrients in seasons. I think we're gonna come in and put fungicide on with a drone just because it's been a fairly wet year. Typically the wet years, there's more disease pressure and it's just more susceptible to that. So for fungicide, it'll cost $35 an acre. We're hiring this application out to somebody who has a drone, so part of that will be for labor and the other half will be for a product. And then after fungicide, we are done in the field, and the next time we'll be in it probably around October come harvest. And harvesting the crop isn't cheap, as that's the time of year when you're using the most equipment, using the most labor, and burning the most fuel. For a combine, we run a 20-year-old John Deere 9560. It has a 6-row corn head on it, and then a 25-year-old 8000 series tractor with 2 large grain wagons. Combining comes in at $45 an acre with the fuel and wear and tear on the combine. Then it's $33 an acre to run all of this equipment to get the grain from the field to the sell point. From there, we get a grand total of $515 per acre of input cost to grow 1 acre of corn. So hopefully those numbers make sense. All of our costs to growing a crop, those are our input costs, our variable costs. And then we have costs like land costs, fixed costs. Whether you're renting or owning, no matter what you're doing out here, you're still gonna have to pay some sort of land costs. So unless you own the land outright, don't have anything borrowed against it, then really your land costs would just be property taxes. And 2 things I forgot to show in the video is crop insurance at $20 an acre and fall fertilizer ahead of corn at $65 an acre. Here's the whole entire video broken down in a very simple spreadsheet. Here's all of our applications, how much they cost per acre, and then over on the right side, we priced it in bushels. And our bushel price of corn is $3.70 currently. And for example, our field cultivating, that needs to make us 4 bushels of corn for it to break even. Fungicide this year needs to make us 10 bushels of corn so we can leave a test strip and see how much yield it actually added to the corn crop. With our crop insurance and fall fertilizer added, our actual total input cost came to $590 or 160 bushels of corn. And then the other side of the equation is our land cost. This is my situation on this land. I have money borrowed against it. Our principal per acre comes to $220. Our interest and property taxes, you have to pay these whether you have a loan on it or not. So our land cost is $560 or 150 bushels of corn at current price. So our total cost per acre is $1,150. So in these 2 charts, we're gonna look at break-even yields. What do you need to yield to not lose any money? My land situation, I need 310 bushels to the acre. That's not going to happen. Then over in this line, we have if you actually yield 240, I lose 260 bucks an acre. And over on this side, this is it drawn out if you're farming 500 acres. But for this year, if you're renting the land at $300 an acre, you're breaking even here if you're yielding 240. But if all your land's paid for, you're making $260 an acre at 240 bushel yield. If you're farming 500 acres, that would be your income. But now we need to zoom out a little bit. What is the 10-year average price of corn per bushel? Well, it comes to $4.50. And here's how it plays out in that scenario. I would still be losing money at $70 an acre. If you're renting for $300 an acre, you'd start to make some money here. And if you had 500 acres paid for at $4.50 a bushel for corn, you'd be making $230,000. Hopefully that all made sense. A reminder, those are my numbers. That's on owned ground. You're kind of paying the cost up front. So these are all just my numbers, and I am not complaining in any way at all. A lot of things can change. We can have a big windstorm, a hailstorm, all the corn can go down, and that's where like insurance can play a role. And then also commodity prices could go even further down or further up. I have not locked in anything for this year, so hopefully they go up, but who knows what market prices are gonna do. So thank you guys for watching the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. That's how this year is looking so far.